Standing here in my wedding dress at the courthouse, I keep checking my phone like somehow the message will change. Empty chairs stretch before me where my family should be sitting. The wooden benches look cold and unforgiving in the fluorescent light. My phone buzzes and my heart jumps, but when I read Mom's text, something inside me breaks and rebuilds itself all at once. Emma's surprise engagement party ran late. You understand, right? Her wedding will be the real celebration anyway. My hands shake as I stare at those words. 28 years of being second choice crystallized into 2 sentences. The judge clears his throat gently and asks if we should wait for my family to arrive. I look at Marcus, my rock, my everything, and take the deepest breath of my life. No, I say, and my voice surprises me with its strength. Let's begin. This is just the beginning of something much bigger. 2 months before that lonely courthouse moment, I discovered something that should have shattered me, but instead set me free. I had stopped by my parents' house to borrow Mom's scanner for some wedding paperwork. She was at her book club, Dad was golfing, and the house felt eerily quiet as I settled into her home office. The computer was already on, and as I moved the mouse to wake up, the screen of folder on the desktop caught my eye. Emma's dream wedding. My younger sister Emma wasn't even engaged. Her boyfriend of 6 months, Tyler, still lived with 3 roommates and worked part-time at a sporting goods store. Curiosity got the better of me, and I clicked. What I found inside made my stomach drop. Spreadsheets with detailed budgets totaling $50,000. Contracts with vendors, some already signed with deposits paid. The Riverside Country Club booked for next June. Photographs of designer wedding dresses with Emma's measurements noted. Menu tastings scheduled. A guest list of 300 people. Every detail meticulously planned for a wedding that didn't even have a proposal behind it. I sat back in the chair, my mind racing. My own wedding planning had been met with sighs and suggestions to keep it simple. When I showed Mom venues, she'd mentioned budget concerns. When I looked at dresses, she reminded me that marriage is about the relationship, not the party. Yet here was evidence of years of secret planning for Emma's hypothetical future wedding. The front door opened and I heard Mom's voice calling out. I quickly closed the folder and switched to the scanner program, my heart pounding. She appeared in the doorway, smiling, her silver hair perfectly styled as always. Oh, Jelena, I didn't expect you here. How's the wedding planning going? Fine, I managed, watching her face carefully. Just needed to scan some documents. Mom, can I ask you something? Of course, sweetheart. Have you been planning Emma's wedding? Her face went through several expressions before settling on defensive dismissiveness. Oh, that. I just like to be prepared. Emma's more traditional than you. She'll need more help when the time comes. More traditional, she posts bikini photos from Vegas on Instagram every weekend. Yelena, don't be harsh about your sister. You've always been so independent, so capable. Emma needs guidance. You understand, don't you? I understood perfectly. I understood that my years of academic excellence, my career in software engineering, my ability to take care of myself, had somehow made me less deserving of my mother's dreams and attention. Emma's inability to hold a job for more than 3 months, her string of failed relationships, her constant need for bailouts, financial and otherwise, had earned her a $50,000 fantasy wedding in waiting. That evening, I sat in my apartment overlooking the city, watching the lights twinkle below. Marcus found me on the balcony, wrapped in a blanket despite the warm evening. "You've been quiet since you got back from your parents," he said, settling beside me with 2 cups of tea. I told him everything. He listened without interrupting, his dark eyes growing more concerned with each detail. When I finished, he took my hand. "What do you want to do about it?" "I don't know. Part of me wants to confront them, really have it out. Part of me wants to cancel everything and elope to Hawaii. But that's what they expect. Poor dramatic Jelena making everything difficult. Independent Jelena, who doesn't need anyone." Marcus squeezed my hand. "You know what I love about you. You always find a third option." The next morning, life provided that third option in the most unexpected way. The doorbell rang at 7, unusual for a Saturday. A courier stood there with a certified letter from Harbinger and Associates, my grandmother's law firm. I signed for it with trembling hands. Grandma Rose had passed 6 months ago and the will reading had been brief. She'd left her house to be sold and divided among her children. Some jewelry to the grandchildren. Nothing unusual, or so we'd thought. The letter changed everything. It informed me that Grandma Rose had maintained a separate trust unknown to the family specifically for me. The amount made me sit down hard on my couch, $200,000. But it was her handwritten note included with the legal documents that made me cry. My dearest Jelena, you were the only grandchild who visited me without asking for money, who called just to chat, who remembered my birthday without Facebook reminders. You brought me groceries without being asked and fixed my computer without complaint. While others came with hands outstretched, you came with your heart open. Use this to build something beautiful, something that's entirely yours. Don't let them dim your light. All my love, Grandma Rose. I read it 3 times before the words sank in. Marcus read it over my shoulder, whistling low. She saw you, he said simply. She really saw you. She did. I wiped my eyes, feeling something shift inside me. And she gave me the power to show everyone else who I really am. I folded the letter carefully and locked it in our safe. My family didn't need to know about this. Not yet. But as I sat there, possibilities began blooming in my mind like flowers in fast forward. If they wanted to plan a dream wedding for Emma, that was their choice. But I was about to plan something that would change everything, not just for my wedding day, but for my entire future. That night, I opened my laptop and began researching. Not just venues or vendors, but something bigger. I'd spent 5 years building software for other people's dreams. Maybe it was time to build something for mine. What are you thinking? Marcus asked, seeing the spark in my eyes that he knew meant I was on to something big. I'm thinking Grandma Rose was right. It's time to build something beautiful, something entirely mine. And I'm thinking our wedding is going to be the launch of something much bigger than just a ceremony. He grinned that smile that had made me fall for him in the first place. I love it when you get that look. What do you need from me? Just be ready for an adventure. I said, already typing, already planning, because we're about to show everyone what we're really capable of. And trust me, they're not going to see it coming. 6 weeks before my wedding, I made one last genuine attempt to include my family in the planning. I'd called Mom 3 times that week, hoping we could look at flower arrangements together. Each time she'd promised to call back and hadn't. When I finally caught her at home on Thursday evening, her response was predictable. Oh, sweetie, I completely forgot. Emma needed me to drive her to a job interview today, and then we had to go shopping for her outfit. You know how she gets anxious about these things. Emma was 26 years old with a perfectly valid driver's license and a car that Dad maintained for her. But pointing that out would only lead to the usual lecture about how I didn't understand my sister's struggles. The interview went well, though. I asked, trying to be supportive despite my frustration. Oh, she decided not to go. The parking situation seemed complicated, and you know Emma doesn't do well with downtown traffic. I stared at my phone, wondering if I'd heard correctly. She skipped a job interview because of parking. Yelena, not everyone is as confident as you. We can't all be computer geniuses who make 6 figures. There it was, the subtle dig wrapped in fake praise. My success in software engineering wasn't seen as an achievement, but as evidence that I needed less support, less attention, less love. Mom, I'm trying to include you in my wedding planning. This is supposed to be a special time for us. Of course it is, sweetheart. Tell you what, why don't you just email me pictures of what you're thinking? I trust your judgment. You've always had such practical taste. Practical. Not beautiful, not elegant, not special. Practical. After I hung up, I found Marcus in his home office working on code for his startup. He looked up, saw my face, and immediately saved his work. Family again. Dad texted while I was on the phone with Mom. He can't make it to the menu tasting this weekend. He's taking Emma to look at apartments. Isn't she living at home? Yes, but apparently she needs options for when she's ready to move out, which based on the last 5 years will be never. Marcus pulled me onto his lap, wrapping his arms around me. I'm sorry, babe. You deserve better. Do you know what Dad said when I told him about my promotion last month? He said, "That's nice, but don't let work consume you like it did your Aunt Patricia." Meanwhile, Emma quits another job, and he calls her brave for knowing her worth. Your Aunt Patricia, the one who's a VP at Microsoft, the very same. Apparently being successful means you've lost your way, but being a perpetual child means you're just finding yourself. That Saturday, the restaurant downtown buzzed with weekend brunch energy as Marcus and I sat at our reserved table for 6. The menu tasting we'd scheduled months ago was supposed to include both sets of parents. Marcus's parents had flown in from Seattle specifically for it. My parents lived 20 minutes away and couldn't be bothered to show up. They're probably just running late. Marcus's mother, Grace, said kindly, though I could see the judgment in her eyes. A retired family therapist, she had a way of seeing through polite excuses. Mom got caught up with Emma's apartment hunting. I lied smoothly. They said to start without them. Marcus's father, Robert, a practical man who'd built his construction company from nothing, shook his head. In my day, you showed up for family, especially for weddings. We went through the tasting, trying 7 different entrees and 4 cake options. The chef had prepared a beautiful spread, and I took photos of everything thinking maybe I could share them with my family later. But as I looked at the images on my phone, I realized they'd probably never even asked to see them. That evening, I sat in our living room laptop open, supposedly working on wedding planning. But instead, I found myself scrolling through our family photos on social media. There was a clear pattern I'd been blind to for years. Every major moment of Emma's life documented and celebrated. Her high school graduation with a party that cost thousands. Her community college acceptance treated like Harvard admission. Every job she started with congratulatory posts, ignoring the fact that she'd quit them all within weeks. My achievements were footnotes. My college graduation, where I'd been valedictorian, had 3 photos. My first job at a major tech firm warranted a brief, "proud of our girl" post. My engagement announcement sat with half the likes and comments of Emma's post about dyeing her hair purple. But what I discovered next changed everything. I'd been tagged in a photo by Emma's friend Sophia. Clicking through to her profile, I found myself in a group chat screenshot she'd posted by accident and quickly deleted, but not before I'd seen it. The timestamp was from that afternoon when my family was supposed to be apartment hunting. Emma, mission accomplished, kept Mom busy all day. Yelena's probably crying into her wedding binders right now. Sophia, you're so bad, why don't you want them at her tasting? Emma, let her have her little courthouse thing. When I get married, it'll show everyone who the real daughter is. Mom already has my whole wedding planned. Jelena's basic tech boyfriend could never compete with what I'll have. Sophia, but she's your sister. Emma, she's competition. Always has been with her perfect grades and perfect job. Well, I've got something she doesn't. Parents who actually care about my happiness. Another friend, Brittany, had chimed in, "This seems mean, Emma." Emma, it's strategic. The less attention her wedding gets, the more special mine will be. Mom agrees. She said Jelena's too independent to care anyway. I screenshot everything before it could disappear completely. My hands shook as I saved the images to a private folder. This wasn't just favoritism or benign neglect. This was deliberate sabotage, and my mother was complicit. Marcus found me an hour later, still staring at the screen. I showed him everything, watching his face transform from confusion to anger to protective fury. "We're uninviting them," he said immediately. "They don't deserve to be there." "No," I said, a plan already forming in my mind. "That's what they expect. Poor dramatic Jelena making everything difficult. I have something better in mind." "What are you thinking?" I closed the laptop and looked at him, feeling oddly calm. "Remember when you said I always find a third option? Well, I'm going to give them exactly what they want. A small, practical courthouse wedding that doesn't compete with Emma's future extravaganza. But But that's not all we're going to have. They want me to be invisible fine. They'll get to miss the most visible wedding in history. Marcus studied my face, then smiled slowly. You're going to use Grandma's money. Every penny. And I'm going to turn our wedding into something that launches a revolution in how people think about family favoritism and finding your own worth. I love you, he said simply, and I can't wait to marry you, both at the courthouse and wherever else you're planning. That night, I made a decision that would change everything. I wasn't just planning a wedding anymore. I was planning a revelation, a business launch, and a statement about choosing your own family when the one you're born into fails you. I opened a new browser window and began searching for venues. Not just any venues, but something spectacular. Something that would photograph beautifully. Something that would stream perfectly to millions of viewers. Something that would make Emma's hypothetical country club wedding look like a backyard barbecue. And I found it. Thornwood Castle, 2 hours north of the city, a stunning 19th century mansion with gardens that belonged in fairy tales, available for my wedding date, perfect for what I had in mind. I bookmarked the page and started a new document, Project Happily Ever After, business plan for Everlasting Events Tech. My family wanted to plan Emma's dream wedding while treating mine as an afterthought. They were about to learn that the tech genius daughter they'd overlooked had been paying attention to more than just code. I'd been studying human behavior market gaps and the massive wedding industry that desperately needed disruption. And it all started with my own wedding, the one they'd chosen to miss. 1 month before my wedding day, I sat in the offices of Streamlife, the hottest new platform for live event broadcasting. The glass walls overlooked Silicon Valley, and the energy in the building was palpable. Across from me sat Diana Chang, their VP of Strategic Partnerships, and she was smiling like she just won the lottery. "Let me make sure I understand," Diana said, leaning forward. "You want to live stream your wedding, but you also want to launch a tech platform that revolutionizes how people handle family dynamics during major life events." "Exactly," I replied, sliding my business plan across the table. Everlasting Events Tech will start with the Fair Family app. It helps people navigate toxic family situations during weddings, birthdays, graduations, any major milestone. We provide scripts for difficult conversations, boundary-setting tools, vendor recommendations for those planning without family support and connection to therapists who specialize in family trauma. Diana flipped through the pages, her excitement growing. "And you want your wedding to be the launch event. Think about it. We stream what appears to be a simple courthouse wedding, showing the empty chairs where my family should be. Then we reveal the real celebration at Thornwood Castle. The contrast tells a story millions of people can relate to. Everyone has family drama. Everyone has felt overlooked or undervalued. We're showing them they can create their own happiness." "The numbers on family estrangement are staggering," Diana murmured, reading my market research. 40% of people report being estranged from at least one family member. The wedding industry is worth $72 billion annually, but no one's addressing this pain point. Because it's uncomfortable. People don't want to admit their families aren't picture perfect. But that's exactly why we need this. My app will give them permission to prioritize their own joy. Diana set down the plan and looked at me directly. "Streamlife wants to be your exclusive streaming partner. We'll feature your wedding as our flagship launch event. With our marketing reach, we can guarantee at least 1 million viewers, possibly more." My heart raced, but I kept my voice steady. "What are you proposing?" "Full production support. Multiple camera angles at both locations, professional editing in real time. We'll create a documentary-style narrative that streams live but can be packaged later for wider distribution. In exchange, Streamlife gets exclusive rights to the footage and first partnership rights with Everlasting Events Tech. I want to maintain ownership of my company." "Of course. We're talking partnership, not acquisition. Though I suspect you'll have acquisition offers pouring in after this launches." We spent the next 3 hours hammering out details. By the time I left, I had a signed agreement, a production team, and a marketing budget that would ensure my wedding reached audiences globally. Marcus was waiting at our favorite Thai restaurant when I arrived, practically glowing with excitement. He stood up, took one look at my face, and pulled me into a hug. They said yes. Better. They want to make it their flagship event. Diana thinks we could hit 5 million viewers if the marketing lands right. We sat down and I filled him in on every detail. His eyes grew wider with each revelation. This is huge, Jelena. You're not just planning a wedding anymore. You're launching a movement. Are you okay with that, our private moment becoming so public? He took my hand across the table. Your family tried to make you invisible. Now you're going to be seen by millions. I can't think of better poetic justice. Plus, someone needs to disrupt the wedding industry's toxic positivity. Who better than us? The next 2 weeks blurred together in a symphony of secret planning. I hired vendors under strict NDAs explaining that discretion was paramount. The castle venue coordinator, Margaret, a sharp woman in her 60s, understood immediately. Family complications, she asked delicately during our walkthrough. Something like that. I need absolute secrecy until the day of the event. Darling, I've been in this business 40 years. You wouldn't believe the family dramas I've seen. Your secret is safe with me. The castle was even more breathtaking in person. Thornwood had been built by a railroad baron in 1892, complete with turret stone archways and gardens that belonged in European fairy tales. The ballroom could hold 300 guests with soaring ceilings painted with Renaissance-style frescoes. We'll set up the main ceremony in the garden. Margaret suggested leading me through French doors to a paradise of roses and wisteria. The gazebo is original to the property, and with the right lighting, it will look magical on camera. Perfect. I want flowers everywhere, like a fairy tale explosion of beauty. Consider it done. Now let's discuss catering. Every vendor I met understood they were part of something special. The florist, a young woman named Ashley who'd started her business after being excluded from her own sister's wedding party, nearly cried when I explained my story. I'll make this the most beautiful wedding anyone's ever seen, she promised. Your family will regret every moment they chose to miss. My dress fitting happened in secret at a boutique downtown. The designer Valentina had created a masterpiece hand-beaded silk that transformed me into someone I barely recognized. As she made final alterations, I told her about the dual ceremonies. So you need a dress that works for a courthouse but transforms for a castle. Exactly. Something that looks simple at first glance but reveals itself to be extraordinary. She pinned the hem, thinking, what if we create a detachable overlay for the courthouse? You appear in a simple sheath, but underneath the full gown awaits. A quick change between venues and you become Cinderella. That's brilliant. Literally transforming from overlooked to unforgettable. Every woman deserves to feel like royalty on her wedding day, Valentina said firmly. Family approval not required. The hardest part was maintaining normalcy with my family. I visited my parents for Sunday dinner, listening to Emma complain about her job search while wearing new designer clothes. I nodded sympathetically when Mom lamented how hard it was to support Emma through her struggles. I bit my tongue when Dad praised Emma for considering community college again 6 years after dropping out the first time. How's your little wedding coming along? Mom asked, almost as an afterthought while clearing plates. Fine, simple, just how you suggested. Good, no point in spending money you'll need for a house. Though, of course, when Emma gets married, we'll help with her down payment, too. It's only fair. Fair. The word tasted bitter in my mouth. Nothing about our family had ever been fair, but pointing that out would only lead to gaslighting about how I was too sensitive, too demanding too much. 3 days before the wedding, everything was in place. The castle was decorated, the vendors prepared, the streaming infrastructure tested. I'd hired a security team to manage the guest list and ensure my family couldn't crash if they discovered the location. Streamlife had begun subtle marketing building buzz about a revolutionary wedding event without revealing details. Marcus's family had arrived from Seattle, staying at a hotel near the castle. They were the only ones who knew the full plan, and Grace had pulled me aside after dinner. "I want you to know how proud I am of you," she said, holding my hands. "What you're doing takes incredible courage. You're not just standing up for yourself. You're standing up for everyone who's ever felt unseen by the people who should see them most clearly." "Sometimes I wonder if I'm being petty," I admitted, planning this elaborate event just to prove a point. Petty would be revenge for its own sake. This is transformation. You're taking pain and turning it into purpose. That's not petty. That's powerful. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stood on our balcony looking out at the city lights, thinking about everything that would change in 72 hours. My phone buzzed with a notification from the Stream Life app. Pre-registrations for the wedding stream had already hit 300,000. Marcus joined me, wrapping a blanket around my shoulders. Second thoughts. No, just thinking about Grandma Rose. She'd love this. Taking the money she left me and creating something that helps other overlooked family members find their worth. She saw you when no one else did. Now millions will see you too. It's not about being seen, though, not really. It's about choosing who deserves to witness your joy. My family made their choice. Now I'm making mine. We stood together in comfortable silence, watching the city sleep. In 3 days, I'd walk down 2 aisles in 2 different dresses, telling 2 different stories. One of abandonment and one of abundance. One of rejection and one of radical self-love. The invitations for the castle ceremony had gone out electronically that morning, programmed to reveal the location only 1 hour before the event. 250 guests had confirmed, including industry leaders, fellow engineers, Marcus's extended family and friends who'd supported us throughout our relationship, the people who'd chosen to see us, celebrate us, invest in us. My family would receive their invitation too, though I doubted they'd even open it. They'd be too busy with whatever manufactured drama Emma created to keep them away. But that was their choice, and I was finally at peace with it. "Ready for the adventure of a lifetime?" Marcus asked. "With you always." The stage was set. The players were in position, and in 72 hours the show would begin. The morning of my wedding day arrived with cruel irony. My phone exploded with notifications at 6 a.m., the family group chat, more active than it had been in months. Emma had orchestrated her masterpiece of manipulation, and watching it unfold in real time was like observing a master class in narcissistic control. Emma. Guys, Tyler just called and said he has a huge surprise planned for today. I think it's finally happening. Mom, oh my goodness, my baby girl, I knew he was the one. Dad, about time that boy stepped up. Where's it happening? Emma. He said to meet him at Riverside Park at noon. The whole family needs to be there. He said it's important everyone comes. My brother Jake chimed in. Isn't Jelena's courthouse thing at 2? Emma. Oh no, I totally forgot Jelena. You understand, right? This is once in a lifetime. I stared at my phone, actually impressed by the audacity. She'd timed it perfectly to conflict with my ceremony, even choosing a location 45 minutes from the courthouse to make attendance at both impossible. Mom, Jelena, sweetheart, you can just do the paperwork another day, can't you? Emma needs her family there for the proposal. The irony wasn't lost on me. My actual wedding was dismissible paperwork, but Emma's fake proposal was unmissable. I typed my response carefully, knowing Stream Life would want to include these screenshots in the documentary. Me, I understand completely. Do what you need to do. Marcus and I will handle things on our end. Dad, that's my practical girl. Family supports family. Jake, cool. Good luck with the paperwork, sis. Emma, you're the best Jelena. I promise I'll make it up to you. Maybe we can have lunch next week to celebrate your marriage. I put my phone down and looked at Marcus, who'd been reading over my shoulder. His jaw was clenched, but his eyes held dark amusement. She actually did it, he said. She manufactured a fake proposal to steal your wedding day. And they're all falling for it, or choosing to fall for it. I'm not sure which is worse. My phone rang. Grace's name appeared on the screen. Good morning, sweetheart. Robert and I are at the hotel. The castle is absolutely stunning. The decorators worked through the night and it looks like something from a dream. Thank you for being there to supervise. I know it's a lot to ask. Nonsense, that's what real family does. Now have you eaten? You need energy for today. Real family. The words settled warm in my chest. I had more family than I'd realized, just not the one I'd been born into. Marcus made breakfast while I responded to messages from friends confirming their attendance at the castle. My maid of honor, Sarah, texted from her hotel, "Courthouse first, then castle." This is like a superhero transformation, Clark Kent to Superman, but make it bridal. At 9:30, my phone rang. Mom. "Hi, sweetheart. I just wanted to check in before Emma's big moment. You're not upset, are you?" "Why would I be upset?" "Well, I know you probably hoped we'd make it to your signing, but surely you understand. Emma's proposal will be the beginning of real wedding planning. You know how overwhelming that can be." The cognitive dissonance was breathtaking. She couldn't make my actual wedding, but was already planning to be deeply involved in Emma's hypothetical one. "I understand perfectly, Mom." "Good. I knew you would. You've always been so independent. Oh, I should go. Emma wants to get her hair done before the proposal. Give Marcus our best." She hung up without waiting for a response. I sat there in my robe hair and curlers holding a silent phone. This woman had been present for every mundane moment of Emma's life, but couldn't spare 2 hours for my wedding. "You okay?" Marcus asked, setting coffee in front of me. "Actually, yes. This is exactly what I needed. Complete clarity that I'm making the right choice." At 11, I arrived at the courthouse with Marcus. His parents, his sister Laura, and a handful of our closest friends were already there. The Streamlife crew had set up discreetly their cameras, capturing every detail without being intrusive. The empty chairs on my side of the aisle stood in stark contrast to the warm group gathered on Marcus's side. I stood in the bathroom looking at myself in the simple sheath dress that hid the elaborate gown underneath. My hands were steady as I applied lipstick. No tears, no shaking, just calm determination. "Yelena," Sarah knocked softly. "It's time." The courthouse ceremony was beautiful in its simplicity. I walked myself down the aisle, each step a declaration of independence. Marcus's eyes never left mine, his love a tangible force field around us. When it came time for family witnesses, Grace and Robert stood for both of us. "Do you, Jelena Marie Thompson, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband?" "I do." The words rang clear and strong. I wasn't just marrying Marcus. I was choosing a new definition of family, one based on presence, not DNA. As we signed the marriage certificate, I heard Sarah whisper to someone, "Her entire family is missing this for a fake proposal. Emma's boyfriend already told 3 people he's planning to break up with her." The information should have brought satisfaction, but I felt only pity. Emma had crafted such an elaborate lie that its collapse would be spectacular. But that was her choice, just as missing my wedding had been. We posed for photos outside the courthouse, the Streamlife cameras capturing what looked like a small, simple celebration. Marcus's mom hugged me tight. "Part 1, complete," she whispered, "ready for the real show." The convoy of cars headed north was filled with excited energy. Sarah rode with us, unable to contain her glee. "I cannot wait to see their faces when this goes live. How many people are registered to watch now?" I checked my phone. 800,000 and climbing. Diana at Streamlife says their servers are ready for up to 10 million concurrent viewers. 10 million people watching you get the wedding your family said you didn't deserve. It's poetic. We arrived at Thornwood Castle at 1:15. The transformation that awaited us was beyond even my wildest dreams. Ashley and her team had created a floral wonderland. Roses, peonies, and wisteria cascaded from every surface. The gardens looked like enchanted forests. The castle itself glowed in the afternoon sun, every stone seeming to pulse with magic. "Oh, Jelena," Marcus breathed. "It's perfect." The wedding coordinator, Margaret, appeared with a clipboard and a knowing smile. "Your dressing room is ready. Valentina is waiting to help with the dress transformation. We go live in 45 minutes. As I walked through the castle, vendors and staff members applauded. The chef had prepared a feast for royalty. The musicians were tuning instruments in the garden. Everything I'd dreamed of and more was coming to life. In the dressing room, Valentina carefully removed the overlay dress, revealing the masterpiece beneath. The full ball gown sparkled with thousands of hand-sewn crystals. The train stretched behind me like liquid starlight. Sarah gasped when she saw the full effect. "You look like you stepped out of a fairy tale." That's the idea, from overlooked to unforgettable. Valentina made final adjustments while the makeup artist touched up my face. This time, I wore a tiara that had belonged to Marcus's grandmother, a piece of family history freely given with love. 30 minutes until showtime, Margaret announced. The streaming platform is showing 1.2 million viewers waiting. My phone buzzed. The family group chat was active again. I couldn't resist looking one last time. "Emma, where is he?" Tyler said noon. It's past 1:30. "Mom, maybe he's stuck in traffic." Jake, "This is weird. His roommate just posted that Tyler's been home all morning playing video games." "Emma, that's impossible. He called me." "Dad, Emma, sweetheart, are you sure about the time?" The realization was beginning to dawn on them. Emma's lies were unraveling in real time, just as my truth was about to be revealed to the world. Margaret appeared at my door. "It's time. Your groom is waiting in the garden." I stood, the dress flowing around me like water. Sarah adjusted my veil and squeezed my hand. "Ready to show the world who you really are?" "I've been ready my whole life." The music began floating through the castle corridors. Cameras tracked my movement as I walked through the great hall past portraits of long-dead nobility who'd understood the power of spectacle. The French doors opened to reveal the gardens transformed into paradise. 250 guests rose to their feet. Industry leaders chosen family and friends who'd seen my worth when my blood family couldn't. Their faces blurred through happy tears as I focused on Marcus, waiting under the gazebo, looking at me like I was his whole world. The walk down this aisle felt different. This wasn't about legal paperwork or obligation. This was about celebration, transformation, and choosing joy despite those who tried to deny it to me. As I reached Marcus, as the officiant began speaking about love and commitment, I knew the cameras were capturing everything. Somewhere, my family was discovering the truth. Somewhere, viewers were witnessing a woman refusing to be diminished. But in that moment, under the gazebo surrounded by beauty and real love, none of that mattered. What mattered was Marcus's hand in mine, the words we'd written for each other, and the life we were building together. "I now pronounce you husband and wife again, but this time in front of the family you've chosen and who've chosen you." When Marcus kissed me, the applause was thunderous, and somewhere in that sound I heard the echo of every overlooked person finding their voice, their worth, their happily ever after. The show had begun. 3 hours after our courthouse ceremony, as I stood in the castle gardens, in my crystalline gown, the digital invitations activated across the city. The precision timing of technology was about to collide with human emotion in the most spectacular way. At exactly 4 p.m., phones buzzed simultaneously. The invitations I'd programmed weeks ago revealed their secret: "You're invited to witness the real wedding of Jelena and Marcus, streaming live from Thornwood Castle. Click here to join 1 million viewers celebrating love, chosen family, and new beginnings." In Riverside Park, my family stood in a circle of confusion and growing anger. Emma's mascara ran in black streams down her face as she clutched her phone, Tyler's Instagram story playing on repeat, showing him at a sports bar with friends' beer in hand, clearly not planning any proposal. Mom's phone chimed with the invitation. She opened it absently, still trying to console Emma, then froze. The color drained from her face as she saw the live stream preview her eldest daughter, in a wedding gown that belonged in magazines, standing in a castle garden that made country clubs look like backyard barbecues. "This can't be real," she whispered. Dad peered over her shoulder, his expression cycling through confusion, disbelief, and the first flickers of understanding. The viewer count on the screen climbed 900,000, 950,000, 1 million. Jake laughed, but it sounded hollow. Is this some kind of joke? Jelena said she was doing courthouse paperwork. They huddled around Mom's phone, watching as the Streamlife logo faded to reveal sweeping drone footage of Thornwood Castle. The production quality rivaled Hollywood films. Professional cameras captured every angle as wedding coordinator Margaret's voice provided narration. Welcome to a celebration of love triumphing over rejection of chosen family, replacing blood relations who chose to be absent. Today, Jelena and Marcus prove that your worth isn't determined by those who overlook you, but by those who choose to see you. The live stream chat exploded with comments. Been there. My family missed my graduation for my sister's boyfriend's birthday party. Queen energy. This is how you handle toxic family. The empty courthouse chairs versus this castle celebration. I'm crying. Wait, her family chose a fake proposal over her real wedding. Emma grabbed Mom's phone, her face contorting. She planned this. She tricked us. No, Emma. Dad said quietly, the truth finally penetrating his favoritism fog. You tricked us. That proposal was fake, wasn't it? Emma's silence was damning. Mom sank onto a park bench, still staring at her phone screen as the ceremony began. The officiant, a renowned judge who'd married tech royalty, spoke about the courage to forge your own path. On the stream, the camera panned across the guest list, each face a deliberate choice. Ariana Chase, celebrity wedding planner to Silicon Valley elite, sat in the front row. Tech CEOs, startup founders, and industry innovators filled the seats my family had chosen to vacate. Mom gasped as she recognized Patricia, her estranged sister, standing as matron of honor. Patricia looked radiant, successful, and proud as she held my bouquet. The sister Mom had warned me about becoming was now witnessing what Mom chose to miss. She invited Patricia. Mom's voice cracked. I haven't spoken to her in 15 years. Maybe because you spent those years telling everyone she chose career over family. Jake said something, shifting in his expression. Looks like she chose to be here when we didn't. The venue reveal continued. Cascading flowers worth more than Emma's entire hypothetical wedding budget. A reception tent that belonged at royal gatherings. Ice sculptures, champagne fountains, and a cake that was architectural art. Every detail screamed success taste, and most importantly, intention. The bride's company, Everlasting Events Tech, launches today. Margaret's voice continued over sweeping shots. Their first product, the Fair Family app, helps people navigate toxic family dynamics during major life events. In a beautiful irony, Jelena has transformed her own family's rejection into a tool that will help millions. Emma threw Mom's phone on the ground, cracking the screen but not stopping the stream. It's not fair. This was supposed to be my year. My wedding planning. You aren't even engaged, Jake exploded, finally losing patience. And you made us miss Jelena's actual wedding for your pretend drama. Dad picked up the damaged phone, the stream still playing through spider web cracks. Marcus and I were exchanging vows, our words, carrying through the garden to the 1 million+ viewers. Jelena. Marcus said, his voice clear and strong. You've taught me that family isn't about blood. It's about who shows up. Today, surrounded by everyone who chose to witness our joy, I promise to always show up for you. My response was equally pointed. Marcus, you saw my worth when those who should have seen it first chose blindness. With you, I don't have to shrink myself to fit others' comfort. I promise to always stand tall beside you. Mom flinched at the words. Around them in the park, strangers had started recognizing them from social media. Someone whispered, "Isn't that the family who ditched their daughter's wedding?" "We need to get there," Mom said suddenly, desperately. "We can still make the reception." Dad was already pulling up directions on his phone. "It's 2 hours north, if we leave now." They piled into Mom's car, Emma still sobbing in the back seat about the unfairness of it all. The drive was tense, silent, except for the live stream playing through the cracked phone screen. They watched my first dance with Marcus, then my dance with Robert Marcus's father, who'd stepped in for the father-daughter dance. "I want you to know," Robert said loud enough for the microphones to catch, "that you're not just Marcus's wife. You're our daughter now. Blood or not, you're family." Dad's hands tightened on the steering wheel. They'd made it 40 minutes north when the stream showed something that made Mom gasp. Diana from Stream Life had taken the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special announcement. Due to unprecedented demand, Stream Life is partnering with Everlasting Events Tech to create a documentary series, Redefining Family. Yelena's story is just the beginning. We're seeking submissions from anyone who's had to create their own celebrations without toxic family members. Let's normalize choosing joy over obligation." The chat went wild. "Yes, my whole family needs to see this." Finally, someone said it out loud. "The way she turned pain into purpose, CEO energy." Her sister tried to sabotage her and ended up launching her career. Karma is beautiful. Emma grabbed the phone. "Turn it off. I don't want to hear anymore." "No," Jake said firmly. "We're going to watch every second of what we chose to miss." The stream transitioned to the cocktail hour. Influential guests offered toasts, each one a testament to my professional accomplishments and personal character. My college roommate shared how I'd tutored her through calculus while working 2 jobs. My first boss described promoting me 3 times in 18 months because I saw solutions where others saw only problems. Then came Patricia's speech. 20 years ago, I was ostracized from this family for choosing career over convention. She began looking directly into the camera as if she knew exactly who was watching. They called me selfish for pursuing my dreams instead of settling for their limitations. Today I stand here as VP of one of the world's most powerful companies, watching my niece refuse to let their small thinking diminish her bright light. She raised her champagne. "Yelena, you didn't just plan a wedding. You exposed a truth many families refuse to acknowledge, that sometimes the greatest gift toxic people can give you is their absence. Your success isn't despite their neglect, it's because you refuse to let their neglect define you." Mom pulled over to the side of the highway, sobbing too hard to drive. Dad took over while Jake tried to comfort her, but his sympathy had limits. "You did this, Mom?" he said quietly. "We all did. We chose Emma's fake drama over Jelena's real milestone, and now the whole world knows." They reached Thornwood Castle at 6:30, just as the sun was setting. The security guard at the gate checked his list and shook his head. "I'm sorry, but you're on the declined entry list." "We're her family," Emma protested. "Ma'am, I have specific instructions. Your names are listed as respectfully declined due to choosing to be absent." Through the gates, they could see the reception in full swing. String lights twinkled like stars. Guests danced on a floor set over the garden pool, creating the illusion of dancing on water. The band was playing and laughter carried on the evening air. Mom pressed against the gates. "Please, I'm her mother. I need to see her. I need to apologize." The guard remained unmoved. "Mrs. Thompson, I'm told you had months to see her. Tonight is for the people who chose to be present." A Stream Life production assistant approached with a tablet. "Excuse me, but since you're here, would you like to make a statement for the documentary? We're gathering perspectives from all sides." "This is a nightmare," Emma wailed. "I'm ruined. Everyone will know." "Everyone already knows," Jake said, showing her his phone. The hashtag was trending nationally. Memes were already circulating. Emma's face from her earlier Instagram stories bragging about her proposal day had been screenshot and paired with images of my castle wedding. They stood at the gates for an hour watching the celebration they'd excluded themselves from. The irony was complete when Tyler, Emma's ex-boyfriend, posted a story from inside the reception. Apparently, he was Marcus's distant cousin and had been invited months ago. "Having an amazing time at the wedding of the year," his caption read. "So glad Yelena found someone who values her. Some people don't know what they have until it's gone." Emma screamed and threw her phone into the bushes. Mom and Dad said nothing, finally understanding that their younger daughter's manipulation had cost them something precious and irreplaceable. As darkness fell, they saw me on the terrace laughing with Patricia and Grace. I looked radiant, powerful, and completely at peace. The woman they'd tried to diminish had transformed into someone magnificent, and they'd missed witnessing it by their own choice. The security guard's radio crackled. He listened, then addressed them one final time. "Mrs. Thompson has asked me to relay a message. She says, 'Thank you for showing me who you really are. Your absence was the greatest gift you could have given. I hope Emma's proposal was worth it.'" They drove home in silence, the cracked phone still playing the reception livestream. My company launch was announced. Investment offers poured in. The viewer count passed 5 million. The world had witnessed my transformation while my family sat in a broken car, finally understanding the price of favoritism. But understanding, as they were learning, didn't automatically grant forgiveness. Some choices once made couldn't be undone. Some moments once missed were gone forever. And some daughters once overlooked rose to heights that left their families far below, looking up at what they'd chosen to throw away. The best stories have layers, and mine was about to reveal its deepest one yet. As my family sat in their car outside the castle gates, confronting the consequences of their choices, inside the reception was reaching its emotional pinnacle. The band quieted as Diana from Streamlife took the microphone again. The live stream audience, now at 6 million viewers, held its collective breath. Before we continue celebrating, Jelena has asked to share something special with all of you both here and watching worldwide. I stepped onto the stage, my gown catching the light from thousands of fairy lights strung overhead. Marcus stood beside me, his hand steady on my back. The crowd quieted, sensing something momentous. "Thank you all for being here." I began, my voice carrying clear and strong, "for choosing to witness our joy when others chose absence. But this celebration isn't just about a wedding. It's about transformation, truth, and the power of turning pain into purpose." The screens around the garden flickered to life, showing a montage Sarah had helped me create. Photos from my childhood flashed by me at science fairs standing alone, while my parents fussed over Emma in the background. College graduation, where I'd been valedictorian to a half-empty auditorium row. My first industry award celebration attended only by Marcus and a few friends. For 28 years, I believed love meant accepting whatever crumbs of attention were thrown my way. I thought family meant shrinking yourself to avoid outshining others. But then I met people who showed me differently. The montage shifted to images of Marcus's family welcoming me. Patricia mentoring me via secret video calls, friends celebrating my achievements, mentors investing in my potential. The contrast was devastating and beautiful. Which brings me to why we're really here tonight. I paused, looking directly into the main camera. I want to introduce you to Fair Family, the first product from Everlasting Events Tech. The screens transformed to show the app interface. Clean, intuitive, revolutionary. The features scrolled by, boundary-setting scripts, toxic pattern identification, resource connections, celebration planning for chosen families, therapeutic support matching. This app isn't about revenge or bitterness, I continued. It's about recognition and healing. It's for everyone who's ever been told they're too successful, too independent, too much. It's for anyone who's watched their achievements minimized while others' failures were celebrated. It's for those who've been gaslit into believing their hurt isn't valid because family is family. Marcus took the microphone. As CEO of Marcus Tech, I'm proud to announce our company is investing $2 million in Everlasting Events Tech's seed round, because mental health and family systems is the next frontier of wellness technology. The garden erupted in applause. Other investors began standing, announcing their commitments. In 10 minutes, we'd raised $8 million. The live stream chat was going insane, with supporters sharing their own stories, asking when the app would launch, celebrating the validation of their experiences. But the evening's revelations weren't over. Patricia stepped onto the stage and the crowd quieted again. My aunt had presents the kind earned through years of battling her way to the top, despite family condemnation. 30 years ago, Patricia began, "I was in Jelena's position, the family scapegoat who dared to want more. My sister Linda, Jelena's mother, led the charge in ostracizing me. She convinced everyone I was selfish, cold, choosing career over family." On the screens, old photos appeared. Patricia and my mother as children, teenagers, young adults. The warmth in their early relationship was evident, making the fracture more painful. What Linda never told anyone was why I really left. She'd stolen my college acceptance letter to MIT, hidden it until after the deadline passed. She told our parents I'd chosen not to go, that I'd rather stay local like her. When I found out and confronted her, she said it was for my own good, that I'd thank her one day for keeping me grounded. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Outside the gates, my mother had gotten out of the car and was standing against the fence, watching the screens through the bars, her face crumpling. "I left anyway," Patricia continued. "Worked 3 jobs to pay for state school, then clawed my way to Harvard for my MBA. Every success I achieved, Linda reframed as abandonment. Every promotion became proof I was heartless. She turned the entire family against me, all while playing the devoted daughter who stayed close to home." Patricia looked directly at the camera. "Linda, if you're watching, know this. You didn't protect me from anything. You tried to clip my wings because you were afraid to spread your own, and you nearly did the same thing to your daughter. The difference is, Jelena figured it out before you could steal 30 years from her, too." The screens shifted to show emails Patricia had saved, messages from my mother over the years, each one dripping with manipulation, telling relatives Patricia had chosen money over blood, spreading rumors about Patricia's cold corporate lifestyle, poisoning every potential reconciliation with lies about Patricia's supposed cruelty. "But here's the beautiful part," Patricia said, smiling now. "Pain can become purpose. Rejection can become rocket fuel. And sometimes the family that pushes you away accidentally pushes you toward your destiny." She raised her champagne glass. "To Jelena and Marcus, who are building the tools to help millions avoid the trap of toxic loyalty. And to everyone watching who needed to hear this, your family's comfort should never come at the cost of your dreams." The applause was thunderous. The livestream viewer count hit 7 million. But the universe wasn't done with its revelations. A commotion at the garden entrance drew everyone's attention. 3 security guards were escorting someone in, their expressions grim. It was Tyler Emma's supposed boyfriend, and he looked both furious and liberated. "Sorry to crash," he said, taking the offered microphone. "But since we're exposing family frauds tonight, I've got something to add." He looked directly at the camera. "Emma Thompson has been telling everyone I was proposing today. We've been dating 6 months. What she didn't mention is that I broke up with her last week because I found out she's been sabotaging her sister for years." The crowd leaned in, hungry for this unexpected plot twist. "She had a whole notebook," Tyler continued. "Plans for ruining Jelena's wedding, strategies for keeping their parents' attention, fake emergencies to create. The proposal story, she made me promise to go along with it in exchange for her not spreading lies about why we broke up. But you know what? I'm done protecting manipulators." He pulled out his phone and cast screenshots to the screens. Emma's notebook pages photographed in detail. The planning was meticulous and cruel. Dates circled for creating conflicts with my wedding planning, scripts for conversations to plant seeds of doubt about Marcus. Even a section titled, "Making Sure I'm the Favorite Forever." The sickest part, Tyler said, she was proud of it, called it strategic family positioning, said Jelena was competition that needed to be eliminated. Outside the gates, Emma had collapsed on the ground, wailing, but no one was paying attention to her performance anymore. The truth was too bright, too overwhelming. "I'm sorry, Jelena," Tyler finished. "I should have told you sooner. But seeing what you've built here, how you've turned their poison into medicine for others, you won. And they'll have to live with knowing they gave you the fuel to soar." Security escorted Tyler out, but the damage was done. Or rather, the healing had begun. The hashtags and were already trending, turning Emma's cruel words into rallying cries for survivors of sibling sabotage. I took the microphone one last time. Every revelation tonight proves why fair family is necessary. This isn't about shaming anyone. It's about shining light on patterns that thrive in darkness. It's about giving people permission to choose their own worth over others' comfort. The app download page went live at that moment. 10,000 downloads in the first minute, 50,000 in 5 minutes. The servers Diana had insisted on upgrading strained but held. To everyone watching who sees their own story in mine, I concluded, know this, you deserve to be celebrated, not tolerated. You deserve family who shows up, not shows off. And if they won't give that to you, you have every right to build it yourself. Marcus and I shared our last dance as the reception wound down. The castle glowed against the night sky, a fairy tale made real through determination and allied support. Every guest had become part of something larger, a movement that would ripple outward for years to come. My phone silenced for the ceremony showed hundreds of messages. Most were from strangers sharing their stories, thanking me for the validation. But there was one from Mom sent from outside the gates. I see it now. All of it. Patricia was right. I was so afraid of being left behind that I tried to hold you both back. Emma learned from me, and I'm ashamed. You deserved so much better. I don't expect forgiveness. I just needed you to know that watching your triumph tonight broke something in me that needed breaking. Your success is the mirror I've been avoiding for 30 years. I showed the message to Patricia, who read it with an expression I couldn't decipher. Too little, too late, I asked. Maybe, she said softly, but breaking toxic patterns has to start somewhere. The question is whether she means it enough to do the work. The reception ended with a surprise. Marcus had arranged fireworks, but not just any display. As colors burst across the sky, they formed words. Choose your own family. Success is not betrayal. Your dreams matter. Rising together. The live stream concluded with those words hanging in the sky, viewed by 8 million people who'd witnessed not just a wedding, but a revolution in how we think about family, loyalty, and self-worth. As guests departed, each received a card with the Fair Family logo and a QR code. But it wasn't just for the app. It was an invitation to share their stories for the documentary series. In one night, we'd gathered enough content for a movement that would span years. The castle began to quiet as vendors packed up. But the real celebration was just beginning online. Support groups formed. Hashtags proliferated. People who'd suffered in silence found their voices. Therapists specializing in family trauma reported appointment requests skyrocketing. We'd touched a nerve that ran deep in millions of souls. The pain of being unseen by those who should see you first. The grief of accepting crumbs when you deserved the whole feast. The liberation of finally choosing yourself. Standing on the castle balcony with Marcus looking out at the gardens where we'd transformed pain into power, I felt Grandma Rose's presence. Her inheritance had funded more than a wedding. It had launched a healing. No regrets, Marcus asked, pulling me close. None. They gave me exactly what I needed, the fuel to build something that matters. Below us, the last of the guests drove away, carrying with them the seeds of change. Tomorrow, the real work would begin, building the company, developing the platform, changing lives. But tonight in a castle that had witnessed centuries of stories, we'd written our own. A story that proved sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's becoming everything they said you couldn't be and helping others do the same. 1 month after the castle wedding that shook the internet, I sat in the gleaming offices of Everlasting Events Tech, watching numbers scroll across multiple screens. 8 million app downloads, 12 million in Series A funding, a documentary deal with Netflix, and most surprisingly, a letter from my mother that actually showed growth. But let me take you through how we got here, because the ending of this story isn't just about success. It's about the messy, beautiful process of healing and the unexpected ways families can transform when truth becomes undeniable. The first week after the wedding was chaos. Media outlets worldwide picked up the story. The wedding that broke the internet became shorthand for standing up to toxic family dynamics. Emma had disappeared from social media entirely after screenshots of her sabotage notebook went viral. Jake, surprising everyone, had reached out with a genuine apology and request to understand where he'd gone wrong. But it was Mom's journey that proved most instructive for our app's development. She'd started therapy the day after the wedding, finding a specialist through the Fair Family platform. Her first message to me through the app's mediated communication feature was raw. "I've been in therapy every day this week. Dr. Martinez says I've been living in a generational pattern of scarcity mindset where I believe there wasn't enough love or success to go around. So I hoarded it for Emma, who seemed weaker, while punishing you for being strong. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking for the chance to learn." Patricia had warned me this might happen. When narcissistic family systems get exposed to enough light, sometimes genuine change can occur. But it requires the transgressor to do real work, not just perform remorse. I'd agreed to one mediated conversation through the app with my therapist and hers present virtually. What unfolded surprised everyone. "I need to tell you something," Mom had said, her face drawn but determined on the screen. "When you were 3, I entered a PhD program, literature. I was brilliant, my professors said. But my mother, your grandmother before Rose, told me I was being selfish, that good mothers didn't pursue big dreams. I dropped out and never went back." The revelation recontextualized everything. She'd unconsciously punished me for achieving what she'd abandoned while pouring herself into Emma as a projection of the dependent woman she'd been forced to become. "I made Emma weak because I was terrified of strength," she continued. "And I tried to make you weak because your strength reminded me of everything I'd given up. Dr. Martinez calls it intergenerational trauma, and I'm committed to breaking it." The conversation hadn't fixed everything. Trust once shattered requires time and consistent action to rebuild, but it had opened a door we'd all thought was permanently closed. 3 weeks post-wedding, something remarkable happened. Mom published an op-ed in the Washington Post titled, "I was the toxic mother at the wedding that broke the internet. Here's what I'm learning." It was unflinchingly honest about her failures, her unconscious patterns, and her commitment to change. The piece went viral, but more importantly, it helped thousands of parents recognize their own toxic behaviors. Emma's journey was different but equally instructive. After a week of hiding, she'd checked herself into an intensive therapy program specializing in narcissistic behavior patterns. Her first communication came through Jake. "She wanted me to tell you she's not ready to apologize because she doesn't trust herself not to manipulate. But she's doing the work, real work. The notebook. She's mortified. She's learning she absorbed Mom's competitiveness and amplified it. She sees it now." Dad's transformation was quieter, but perhaps most profound. He'd started volunteering with Fair Family's father support groups, sharing how he'd enabled the dysfunction by choosing comfort over confrontation. His group, Fathers Who Failed to Protect, had become one of our most active communities. But this isn't just about my family. Let me share what happened with the company and movement we'd sparked. Fair Family's success exceeded every projection. We'd tapped into a deep well of pain that millions had been carrying silently. The app's features evolved based on user feedback, emergency scripts for boundary setting during holidays, matched support groups for specific dynamics, vetted therapist networks, and even legal resources for those needing restraining orders against abusive family members. Corporate partnerships flooded in. HR departments wanted our tools for employees struggling with work-life balance around toxic families. Wedding planners integrated our resources for couples dealing with family drama. Universities licensed our content for student wellness programs. The documentary series premiered to critical acclaim. Each episode featured different families navigating toxic dynamics with fair family tools as part of their healing journey. My story was the pilot, but subsequent episodes showed the universal nature of these patterns across cultures, economic classes, and family structures. Marcus's role as co-founder and CTO had been crucial. He'd built architecture that could handle millions of simultaneous users while maintaining privacy and security for sensitive family discussions. His own family had become ambassadors for the chosen family movement with Grace, writing a book about healthy in-law relationships. Patricia joined our board of directors, bringing decades of corporate experience and personal insight. Her reconciliation with Mom was cautious but real, built on therapy sessions and accountability rather than forced forgiveness. Healing isn't a Hallmark movie, Patricia told me during one board meeting. It's messy, non-linear, and requires everyone to own their part. That's what Fair Family needs to teach the real work, not just the pretty endings. Speaking of endings, ours came with unexpected beauty. 6 months after the wedding, we held our first Fair Family conference. 3,000 attendees, virtual participation from 50 countries and speakers, ranging from psychologists to celebrities who'd navigated public family estrangement. My family attended not as VIPs, but as regular participants. They sat in sessions, took notes, did the exercises. Emma participated in a panel about recovering from being the golden child in a toxic dynamic. Her honesty about the pressure and eventual collapse of that role resonated with hundreds. Mom spoke briefly at a breakout session about parents in recovery from toxic behaviors. My daughter's wedding was a mirror I'd been avoiding my whole life, she said. It showed me that in trying to protect my children from disappointment, I'd become their biggest source of it. Recovery means facing that truth every day. The conference's final night featured a celebration. Not a wedding, but something equally powerful, a commitment ceremony, where attendees could publicly declare their boundaries, their chosen families, and their dedication to breaking generational patterns. Hundreds participated, stating things like, "I choose to parent differently than I was parented. I release the obligation to maintain relationships that harm me. I commit to celebrating my achievements, even if my family won't." As I watched from the stage, Marcus beside me, our company valued at $100 million, and our movement touching millions of lives, I thought about Grandma Rose. Her inheritance had funded so much more than a wedding or a business. It had funded a revolution in how we understand family loyalty and love. My mother approached me after the ceremony, tentative but determined. We'd been in facilitated communication for 6 months, slowly rebuilding with professional guidance. "I know I missed your wedding," she said quietly, "and I can't change that. But I wanted you to know I haven't missed a single thing since. Every podcast interview, every feature article, every app update. I'm learning to be proud of you without making it about me. That's progress." I acknowledge not ready for more, but appreciating the effort. Dr. Martinez says it will take years to rebuild trust, if ever. I'm prepared for that. I'm just grateful you're allowing me to try. Emma joined us, her own transformation evident in her entire demeanor. The manipulative notebook author had been replaced by someone doing genuine self-reflection. "I've been accepted to social work school," she said simply. "I want to help other golden children recognize the trap before they hurt everyone around them like I did. The Fair Family Foundation scholarship made it possible." Yeah, we'd started a scholarship program for people recovering from family trauma who wanted to help others. Grandma Rose would have loved that part especially. Jake had become a Fair Family facilitator, using his athletic background to create programs for men struggling with emotional intelligence in family systems. Dad continued his volunteer work, becoming a respected voice in the movement for accountable change. The wedding industry had transformed too. Planners now routinely included family dynamic assessments in their services. The phrase, "You're not obligated to invite anyone who doesn't celebrate your joy," became standard advice. Courthouse weddings, followed by chosen family celebrations, became trendy, coined as Yelena weddings in the media. But perhaps the most beautiful change was in my daily life. Without the constant drain of managing toxic dynamics, I'd flourished in ways I hadn't imagined possible. My marriage to Marcus deepened, my creativity soared, my company expanded into mental health tech acquisition offers pouring in from major players. We turned them all down. This movement was too important to sell. 1 year after the wedding, Streamlife released viewing statistics. Our wedding livestream had been watched by 50 million people across all platforms. The hashtags it spawned had been used in over 100 million posts. Fair Family had facilitated 60,000 family interventions with a 70% success rate in either healing relationships or helping people peacefully separate from toxic dynamics. Standing in my office, looking out at the city where I'd once felt so alone in my family pain, I felt the opposite of what toxic voices had predicted. I wasn't cold or corporate or disconnected. I was warm with purpose, rich in chosen relationships, and connected to millions who'd found their voices through our platform. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. "News crew here for the anniversary special, ready to tell the story again." I smiled, thinking of everyone watching who needed to hear it. The overlooked daughters and sons, the scapegoated siblings, the achieving children punished for outgrowing family limitations, the golden children trapped in impossible roles. "On my way," I typed back. Before leaving, I looked at the framed photo on my desk. Not from the castle wedding, beautiful as it was, but from the Fair Family Conference. Thousands of faces all choosing healing over hiding growth, over grudges, truth over toxic loyalty. That's the real happily ever after. Not perfect reconciliation or dramatic cutoffs, but the messy middle ground of humans doing the hard work of breaking generational patterns. Some relationships healing others, ending all of them finally honest. And at the center of it all, a wedding that had started with empty chairs and ended with millions of witnesses. Proof that when family fails you, you can choose your own. And when you do, you might just light the way for everyone else struggling in the dark. To anyone reading this who sees their own story in mine, you deserve to be celebrated, not tolerated. Your achievements are not betrayals. Your boundaries are not cruelty. Your joy does not require their permission. Choose yourself, build your own table, and watch how many others have been waiting for someone to show them it's possible. That's not just a wedding story, that's a revolution. And it all started with a grandmother who saw me when no one else did an inheritance that became an investment in healing and the courage to let empty chairs tell the truth. Welcome to your own story. Make it beautiful. As I walked toward the interview, I passed our latest Fair Family ad campaign. Simple black text on white billboards across the country. Your worth is not determined by their acceptance. Grandma Rose would have loved that too. The girl she'd seen had become the woman who helped others see themselves. And that's the greatest inheritance of all, passing on the gift of being truly seen. The interview was starting. Another chance to tell the story. Another opportunity for someone trapped in family dysfunction to realize they had options. Another seed planted in the garden of generational healing. "So Yelena," the reporter began, "tell us about the wedding that changed everything." I smiled, ready to begin again. Because that's what healing is, telling the story until it transforms from wound to wisdom, from pain to purpose, from a wedding missed to a movement that couldn't be stopped. It started with empty chairs. I began and ended with millions of witnesses. But really it began long before that with patterns invisible until illuminated. Let me tell you about choosing your own happily ever after. The cameras rolled. The story continued. And somewhere, someone watching would find the courage to choose themselves too. That's the real magic. Not the castle or the millions of viewers or the successful company. It's the ripple effect of one person saying, "Enough," and building something better from the ashes of what should have been. Your turn. What will you build from your empty chairs? If you've made it this far in my story, chances are something resonated with you. Maybe you've felt overlooked by family who should celebrate you. Maybe you're the golden child realizing the cage that role created. Or maybe you're a parent recognizing patterns you want to break. Whatever brought you here, I want to hear from you. What family dynamics have you had to navigate? Have you found your chosen family? What would you want to tell someone just starting to set boundaries? Drop a comment below sharing your thoughts or experiences. If this story touched you, please hit that like button. It helps others who need this message find it too. Subscribe to follow more stories about overcoming family trauma and building lives of authentic joy. And if you know someone who needs to hear that their worth isn't determined by their family's acceptance, share this story with them. Thank you for witnessing my journey. Remember, you deserve to be celebrated, not tolerated. Your dreams matter. Your boundaries are valid. And sometimes the greatest gift toxic people can give you is showing you exactly who they are so you can choose who you want to become. Until next time, keep choosing yourself. Keep building your own tables. Keep believing that empty chairs can become the foundation for something extraordinary. With love and solidarity, Jelena. P.S. Fair Family is real in spirit, if not in app stores yet. But the principles are available to all of us. Choose growth, seek support, set boundaries, build beauty. You've got this.